The Star Wars universe has taken yet another hit as showrunners from Game of Thrones, Benioff and Weiss, have been removed from their trilogy project. But what is the overall reason behind it? Is it really their Netflix deal, or is it what happened with Season 8 of Game of Thrones? Let's talk about that right now. Hello everybody and welcome back to another movie news video. My name is Joker and today we're discussing the breaking news that happened yesterday morning as Benioff and Weiss have been removed from their Star Wars trilogy project. So back in February of 2018, everyone seemed really ecstatic and happy when Benioff and Weiss were signed to a new Star Wars trilogy that was going to be happening in the later coming years. But since the last season of Game of Thrones was apparently a complete bust to everyone who loved the show, and some really interesting conversations happening during press conferences, they have since then been removed from the project. Unfortunately, Deadline reported Benioff and Weiss had been removed from the project due to their issues with their Netflix multi-year contract. Whether or not that's the actual case, we don't really know, but that's what we're going with right now. During the interview, Benioff and Weiss stated that there are only so many hours in the day, and we felt that we could not do justice to both Star Wars and our Netflix projects. Now, when you look at that, obviously, yeah, sometimes there are scheduling conflicts like that happen, where you just have to pick one over the other. But I don't see a world where you just naturally pick Netflix over Star Wars. Sure, the multi-year contract for Netflix was $200 million, but I imagine Star Wars is not going to pay anything less than significant amounts of money for a Star Wars project. And this is really unfortunate for some people that were looking forward to this regardless of what happened with Game of Thrones and just their track record in general, just because we didn't really know much about this project. There was never anything confirmed on what it was supposed to be, but the production on it was supposed to start fairly soon, seeing as the first of the trilogy was supposed to come out in 2022. Now, naturally, through all of this, it really did look like it was supposedly going to be a Knights of the Old Republic or Old Republic era style trilogy film. Again, none of that was confirmed. It was mainly just rumors and speculations based on what they've done in the past and what we think they would be good at putting them into the Star Wars universe. That's one of the main areas that we never really got to explore in this new canon, as everything that was written in now Legends is just no longer canon and thrown to the wayside. Except for Darth Bane, he's really the only thing that survived. But during the timeline we would probably see it happen in, we wouldn't be seeing Darth Bane. We'd be going way back to Darth Revan and Darth Malak, several thousand years before the events of The Phantom Menace. And again, none of that is actually ever confirmed. There was never any confirmation from anyone on any side saying that they were going to do an Old Republic trilogy. It was just something that would have been nice to see, especially along the lines of the news when it came out that Benioff and Weiss were going to be scheduled to do this trilogy. We had Leda Kalogridis start writing screenplays for a trilogy of movies based on the Knights of the Old Republic story. That was the actual wording they used. They didn't say Old Republic, so everyone assumed that it was going to be based off the Knights of the Old Republic game that came out in July of 2003. Now, it is, however, possible that Benioff and Weiss could be returning to the Star Wars universe in later years to come, as Kathleen Kennedy stated during this whole situation that David Benioff and Dan Weiss are incredible storytellers. We hope to include them in the journey forward when they are able to step away from their busy schedule and focus on Star Wars. Now, the issue with that statement, just kind of reading it as it is, it does pretty much just sound like they were straight up fired from the project due to possibly creative differences, or really just the way they've been handling press conferences about how they did agree that they had screwed up the last season of Game of Thrones. That's really the only thing that they can be pinned on right now. And whether or not you actually like Game of Thrones, or whether or not you actually like the season finale of Game of Thrones, regardless of the fact that they made one bad season, they still had 7 great seasons that ultimately dominated TV for several years. So just taking away the small little 6 to 8 episode series finale that you had and just basing everything else based on that one decision, you got to look at the bigger picture there. But again, it sucks. It really does for some people. That I was really looking forward to this series. I knew if it was possibly going to be an Old Republic style show, that this would be something to really look forward to. And I'm also not going to openly celebrate the fact of someone losing a job like that. Sure, there are different situations for all these things, but when you see someone that has worked hard and just to get where they're at and get that dream position of doing a bigger story like Star Wars or something to that degree, it sucks when they see that it falls through. And this has been happening a lot with Disney. There are several people that have been cut from projects because of disagreements with Disney. Especially when, if it could have been the Old Republic, we could be telling a story that is just about one of the darkest times in the galaxy's history to date. So it obviously would have to be a very dark and compelling story, and maybe that could be one of the reasons that Disney just wasn't on board for it. Or I could just be completely making that up. I really don't know, and we won't really know much of this and probably until years later when they all come out and say, yeah, this is exactly what happened, because that tends to be what happens. They come out, say everything's fine, and then 10 years later they'll be like, this is what really happened between us, because contracts are up and they can talk freely about it. But again, who knows? Right now the really big question is, what's next? Because these movies aren't going to get pushed back. It's not like we're going to get 5 5 to 6 years free of Star Wars now, because those times are still set for 2022, 2024, and 2026, because they're going to be alternating with the Avatar series that's starting to come back next year in 2020. And those days are not going to get pushed back, because right now Disney is going to start dominating those holiday release dates with the holiday box office scores with the big franchises they have, such as Star Wars and Avatar. So that's not going to change at all. So if anything, they're going to start pushing forward some of the stuff that they had backed off for the plans. Now that we know that Benioff and Weiss was going to be the next up trilogy, and now that it's not, who's going to be next? Well, we still have Rian Johnson's trilogy that, yes, is still confirmed to be happening. They haven't canned that yet, even though a lot of people are hoping for him to lose that position entirely just because they hate The Last Jedi. Be that as you may. And there's also the recent news that Kevin Feige is going to be stepping in to take on the helm of a Star Wars movie. We don't know if it's going to be one single film or a trilogy of films, or someone else going to step into Benioff and Weiss' movie and take over that project and keep Rian Johnson and Kevin Feige's trilogies set where they are, which at this time has been undisclosed. Now, this really just is a lot of questions and speculation of what's going to be happening next, as we don't really have a lot of the facts, and everything else is going to be just simply opinion-based. And there's a lot to unwrap here, so what do you guys think? Are you happy to see Benioff and Weiss leave the project, or are you sad to see them go? Were you looking forward to this trilogy, or is it something you were really skeptical about because of how Game of Thrones actually ended? Let me know in the comments down below. I want to talk about it. But until more news breaks on this, because I guarantee it will, there's going to be a lot more to come from this and where Disney's going to be moving forward with Star Wars. That is going to be it for this video, guys. Remember, if you like what you saw, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more movie news videos or if you'd like to see anything else. But until then, and as always, I will see you guys next time.